Hey there guys, welcome to the Rogues Guild. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Gauntlet. That was our first ever Gauntlet. We plan on doing that every 2 weeks. When we do the live stream, we'll chop up the videos, release them over the week like we did, and then follow it up with a deck profile for you guys to see what we were thinking while we were going. So this first one we decided to do was a Hanzo Machines. It was a pretty fun version. There's a lot of love for machines going forward, so we wanted to try to make it competitive. Also to make sure we don't get clapped by it in Vegas. So we decided to put the machine shell into Hanzo for one, so that we could play the 6 Jizo statues on Energize. For most of our matchups, we really like that as a turn 1 on the draw. And then the other thing was for Sealing Scroll. Sealing Scroll handles Brunhild's Wrath, or not Brunhild's Wrath, but Odin's Judgment. And for us, like, we lose to that every game if we don't have it. So for that, I think we have to be in this. We have to be in this shell. So that's why we decided to go Hanzo. Going into the Resonators, we run the 4 Guinevere's. Guinevere is the new machine that came out that allows you to banish other machines to give her +2 or 2 +1/+1 counters. We like her a lot. She carries 3 races with her: Human, Machine, and Wanderer. So when you look at a 1-drop blue that has 3 races, you automatically go for a diversity play. Diversity Kingdom is the obvious one that everyone goes to first, but then the rune that just came out for Diverse Evolution seemed to really fit with this kind of model, so we went with her in the 1-drop spot. Vivian. Vivian's one of the original powerful 1-drop machines. Her ability to, when she starts getting the +1/+1 counters, to start tapping down stuff actually proved very useful once we did do the evolution play. When she was kind of boosted up with counters, we didn't have a lot of flyers in our way, so we'd swing with her up in the air and then be able to tap down the Resonators so that our statues and anything else on the ground was able to get through. So she was super versatile. We loved her a lot. Donut Drone, a sack engine for 4 counters, usually on a Lancelot or on a Vivian to get an extra boost. Another 1-drop machine. When we get to the diversity play, oftentimes we're on 4 will, so we can go 2 for the diversity, 1 for like a spirit bug, 1 for a donut drone if we need another resonator to get counters on. If we have a Lancelot in play, this is actually, sometimes you'll drop the donut drone, play the diverse evolution, give donut drone some counters, use the counters on donut drone to like pop something or whatever, then banish the donut drone. There's a lot of manipulation for +1/+1 counters in this deck, and so donut drone is another 1-drop ad for us. And then Lancelot. So Lancelot by himself, just when you have your Jizo statues out there, they're naturally generating counters. So by the time you get a Lancelot online, your statues already have 3+ counters on them. So like, they're automatic kill spells at that point. Like, Lancelot just does work in this matchup, absolute work. So again, once we get to the diversity play, once we have all these counters, we can swing, tap, banish, blah blah blah. Like, the OTK, if uninterrupted, is very easy to get off in this deck. Very, very easy. So yeah, we only run the 16 machines, so maybe it's not a machine list. We like to say it's a machine list. Maybe you could call it Diversity Hanzo, but with 16 machines, I think that's basically where we're at. So then we run into the 3 of the 6 Jizo statues. We run 3 just in case we ever draw 1 to start. We want to make sure that we always hit 2 off of the yokai. So we do run 3. Playing a Jizo statue late game, I don't think really ever did anything good for us. So, you know, just hitting the 2 and trying to never see the 3rd is probably the best way we go about that. Once these things come off online, they beat face, and it was very satisfying. The Lowly Spirit Bug. This was something that we talked about in chat for a little bit. Steven came up with this idea. At the end of the day, it's another 1-drop blue that carries 2 races with it. So the cool thing about this is, like, if you've got your statues online and you've got something else on board and you're thinking about the diversity play, remember, we were on the diversity play with like 4 will, so you had an extra will to maybe drop one of these and get the 2 extra races, get some extra counters, and then plus all of a sudden this is a swiftness beat stick. Like, this turn this thing pairs well with the diversity. So also outside of that, it draws you a card. It replaces itself. So for this, it felt like a no-brainer add for this build. We liked it a lot. It did a lot of work, and it added to the unexpected nature of the deck. Like just dropping it the same turn that you diverse, like all of a sudden that board becomes unmanageable quickly. 2 Violas, again, another thing that has 2 races that don't match anything else that you're running. So if you ever naturally put a Viola on board, it does some work. I'm positive that I actually never played a Viola in all 5 of our matches. Never played the Viola. Never felt like I needed to. Never felt like I wanted to. It felt too slow for the aggro matches, and in all the other matches, didn't need it. So Viola might actually come out, but that would be something that we would do later. 3 Lorites. Lorite is another awesome resonator on board. He's an elf. You don't run any elves, so it's another body for the diverse. And then yeah, he also just does Lorite things. He always cancels effects, and so like you can on their turn cancel something, put a body, and then your diverse play is just even better at that point. So Lorite felt pretty good. So then going into the spells, 3 table flips instead of the 4. So because this deck felt very much, it felt like it could go aggro pretty good. We didn't want to clutter up the deck with too much answers for stuff, because we didn't really feel like we needed a lot of answers. The resonators themselves with the counters, the Vivians, the Lancelots, like they were enough answers for us. So coming down to 3 table flips I think was fine for us. Nothing really, I don't think I ever was like, yeah, thank God I have a table flip. So 2 fair spells, obvious green, add, only needed the 2. Really, this is something that we ended up kind of needing in the Hanzo Mirror. Because oftentimes they'll contest your they'll contest your Yokai Festival with their Sealing Scroll, and if they've left up 1 green, then it goes like Sealing Scroll, Fair Spell. Like you need to fight for your Yokai sometime. So Fair Spell is a pretty good ad. So Shayla's Return. This was my ad. Originally we were doing with Skyfall. It's the 1-drop quick cast or 1-drop bounce spell that doesn't have the 4 cost restriction, but it only gains quick cast if you control the machine. So I felt like in all the matches that I wanted to try to bounce stuff, it was all really aggressive, Kyrix and stuff like that. So like there is a chance that I don't have a machine on board, right? So for me, I traded guaranteed quick cast for that 4 cost or less restriction, and that felt fine for me. I felt like the turn this deck goes off around turn 4, so like there's not a lot of stuff that should be on board that I'm like, damn, I wish I had a bounce spell for 5 or greater, So for me, I felt like this was better than the Skyfall. 2 Keys Call, cancel automatic ability, draw a card, simple blue shell. And then the 4 Idol of Magic. For those of you that are currently playing in this format right now, dual colors is difficult. It is very, very, very difficult. Sometimes you get stone boned, and that does not feel good at all. So, turn 1 Idol of Magic and the controller matchups where you can spare your first turn, it felt pretty good. It allowed you to get more comfortable with your stones as they were coming. Plus, when you don't have the Energize, a turn 1 Idol of Magic guarantees that you're going to have a turn 2 Yokai, because you only run 3 Speaking Stones, which we'll get to. So like, there's a chance that if you're on the draw, or if you're on the play, there's a chance you're not actually going to Yokai Festival on turn 2 without an Idol of Magic. So, that was just something to add that helped us out there. So going into Stone Base, we play the 3 Magic Stone of Chaos, the 4 Dramaturgy, and the 3 Speaking Stones. We are heavily blue, and blue is the main engine, so like we want to be blue more than green. So this felt good for us. Dramaturgy was actually pretty interesting. So what ends up happening is, like, if they end up clearing your boards a couple times and you're sitting on like 5-6 stones, then all of a sudden you're in top deck mode, and top deck mode feels pretty bad when most of your stuff is cheap and small. But when you're playing machines, like, all of a sudden you can drop one of these cheap small things, and then with the rest of your wheel that you weren't going to use for anything, you can give it a bunch of +1/+1 counters. And that ended up being pretty beneficial in a couple matches where, like, you top deck a Vivian, give it 2 +1/+1 counters, tap something down, swing through, you know, with what little board you have left. Oftentimes when you're in that grind mode at the end, they were pretty low on life, so you're just trying to look to squeeze through that last little bit. So yeah, Dramaturgy was actually like an amazing stone, and I love this. I love this for machines. So going into the rune deck, I opted to run a rune deck that is over 10 divinity. The reason that I did this is because Sealing Scroll is only a rune that you're going to play when you're facing the other divinity rulers. So like, you're automatically, when you're facing Keurig, when you're facing IU, when you're facing anything else like that isn't the divinity, you're only playing your 4 runes anyway, right? So I kind of thought about it for a little bit, and I was like, alright, so when I'm playing my divinity rulers, is there anything that I need like all 5 of my runes for? And it turned out to be no. So for the most part, when I'm playing divinity rulers, we do the Diverse Evolution, which ends up being a 2 cost, and then target X amount of J resonators based on races, and it gets 1 counter, 2 counter, 3 counter, 4 counter, 5 counter. So like, this is your OTK engine, and it is wonderful. This comes out of nowhere. I love this card so much. Fuma Shuriken, this is what we used on all of the non-divinity rulers, so like Keurig and IU, like, they're coming at your face very hard, so you want to be able to delay it 1 turn. In theory, when we were originally doing this, it felt like the Keurig and the IUs were just like 1 turn faster. After doing the Gauntlet, they are just 1,000 times better, period. And so there was no 1 turn gap difference. Like, Keurig had full control, IU had full control, like, the grip was there, and there was nothing that we could do. But that's what Fuma Shuriken was there for. So that was for our non-divinity rulers. Scrap and Build, I like Scrap and Build a lot because oftentimes if they do hit a Black Tears, or if you're playing Lucifer and they're discarding all your stuff, like, you need this as like a one of, just like, okay, let's get a 1 cost body onto the field outside of my hand, because if you gas out, you need this, and that, it actually proved beneficial a couple times. So Scrap and Build was really good for me. Yokai Festival, obviously get the 2 Jizo statues for 2. Turn 1 if you're on the draw, turn 2 if you're on the play, and then Sealing Scroll. Sealing Scroll is really to handle the Brunhild's Wrath. In Lucifer, handle the Jet Black Wings, or the Black Rosario, or Soul Prison. Like, it felt like by the time they were about to try to play a rune, you were killing them next turn. So it didn't matter what rune they were playing, you were Sealing Scrolling that. So then going into the sideboard, we sideboarded a lot of hate for aggro, and it just didn't work. You end up seeing me very frustrated in the Keurig and the IU matches because nothing worked. So we went 4 Last Days of the Powerless Dragonoids, 4 Lightning Caves. We went 1 of the Magic Stone of Tranquility and 1 of the Speaking Stones. And this was to get us back to the 5/5 on green when we come in heavy on like the Last Days and the Scarlet's Agonies. We want to go 50-50 on the green, hit that Shuriken early. So we tried that route. We went to 4 Scarlet's Agonies for IU, and we bumped 1 on the Shayla's Return for the Keurig. And yeah, it just didn't work. We had all of this anti-aggro, and yeah, no, those decks are still just really powerful, and we couldn't get around it. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what we thought going forward. This deck had a good handle on a lot of decks that were out there. It had a good surprise factor. It was pretty consistent, but it also consistently just got stomped by Keurig and IU. So living in the United States of America, I will not be bringing this deck to a GP. I know how to play around it, so I'm not scared to see it across from me either. But honestly, it was really fun, and it was nice to play. I think we'll take a look at blue machines just to make sure that there isn't something there that we missed, but pretty sure machines right now just doesn't have it in this meta. that we're dealing with right now. So let me know what you think. Comment below, like the channel, subscribe. Thanks a lot for stopping by, guys, and we'll see you around.